What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Beluga Podcast, where we basically waste our lives on crypto Twitter so you guys don't have to. We'll give you a quick rundown of everything that's happening in the market, from the majors to the most degenerate shit that we've been up to. And without further ado, let's take a check in at what Bitcoin and ETH have been doing this week, because honestly, it's not been fun. I've been checking my portfolio every day, and most days it's been in the red. Yeah, we've dropped. Oh, it actually looks like we've come back a little bit since I checked this morning.
Bit choppy, but this
Um,
overall doesn't look
but it's looking a
horrible.
little choppy. I've seen. I was looking at the liquidation data. I think we had something like 200 mil in longs liquidated on this downwards movement in the last day or so. Um, I mean, we've said this before. I say it in the newsletter. If you're trading on leverage in this market, like please be careful because they're just trying to run people's stops right now. If you're staying in spot, dips are for buying. Same messaging as always, but it's tough to trade this on leverage right now. I mean, looking at the right side of the screen too, we see all these altcoins. They've been bleeding hard as well. So it's not just
Just,
limited to Bitcoin and ETH.
just
Um,
deeply red everywhere.
Deeply red. Even my like 300 market cap, 300K market cap shit coins are in the red today. Everything's down.
Oh God,
But
yeah,
yeah, look, I keep the same stance that I've had for a while now, which is this is a bull market. Dips are for buying. We can already see this candle's trying to come back right now. But be careful on leverage.
yep, totally. I mean, we're still in the same range. The crazy thing is like we're still near all-time highs, if not past them. Like it's nuts. And so like overall, it's still incredibly positive. The fact that like this uncertainty and like leading into the happening is giving us a bit of a chop here and there. It's not that bad. It's actually been really positive. And so I think overall, like you said, trading with leverage is incredibly dangerous right now. I wouldn't do it, or I'm not like good enough to do it. So, like you said, I'm buying on red days and just holding spot and keeping it as simple as that. But you can see it's just a little choppy, and it's hard to predict where things are going. But
Yeah, I mean
I mean, look,
we have so much like different bullish catalysts, bearish catalysts, FUD flying around. Like it's just any day it could pick a different direction to move, but the overall trend still looks incredibly bullish to me.
I mean, yeah. Say if you just zoom out even a little bit, this still looks incredibly good overall.
Mm.
Um, this actually looks less good to be honest, but still, it's actually pretty solid still. So, I think, like you said, stay safe and just acquire. It's like very simple. Don't overcomplicate this. Just buy fucking majors and make sure that you have more coins yesterday than today. Or sorry, you have more coins now than you did yesterday. And that's as
I
simple as
like
that.
that. I like that.
Yeah, crazy man. But yeah, I mean, look, this is also CPI today, right? And I feel like I used to be much more attuned to the macro shit of like, let's like listen to Jerome Powell's FMOC speech and I'll read the notes and all this shit and like, do the CPI stuff. I don't even care at all anymore. I barely pay attention to it. One, because I don't have the time, but two, I don't see it making the same moves as it used to. It just doesn't matter as much. And CPI relative to the other macro stuff is always a little bit less important anyway. But zooming out, right? We always think that we index off these macro events because each time the Fed makes a move, that potentially sort of opens the floodgates for risk on capital, right? Which means if rates go down, then you are going to have more money enter the markets as people seek more yield from like higher risk bearing assets, right? And so you look at those things, and we were supposed to get a lower CPI print, which means the inflation that is growing is supposed to have come in at a certain rate. We ended up coming in higher than that, right? And so they released the numbers and said, look, we're still at a higher point of inflation than we expected, which means that the rate cuts that were expected this year, right, will probably be prolonged, meaning we won't get them as early as we think. And so that's led to a bit of a dump and like a little bit, there's always a little bit of like hesitation, like selling off going into that type of stuff because people are just sort of like waiting to see what the news says and then it comes out. And we had that this morning. Truthfully, it hasn't been much, really haven't seen a lot of action like on top of it. Usually it's like very violent, where it hasn't been very violent before. It's kind of like a nothing right now. And so I think it looks pretty good, honestly. And, a good area to buy. But anyway, so yeah, I agree with you. Um, maybe in like majors news, we jump to this because we have a couple things that are
Mhm.
coming up. One is the Bitcoin halving that is quite close, and we're 10 days out, right? Um, that's the first piece, and then the second part is the ETF for ETH, which has been highly anticipated for a bunch of reasons. But it looks like that things will not be approved on the Ethereum ETF. At least that's the sort of current talk on crypto Twitter. And usually there's a date for when these things are supposed to be filed by, and it could be any time before that, but it never is. You always find out like the night of, or like when it's supposed to happen. So it just leads to this sort of I don't know the algebra. It leads to a bunch of people on the internet just speculating nonstop on this until we get there, and then of course we go up or down. The sentiment was very positive after the BTC ETF in January. We all thought ETH is right around the corner. And the nice thing about the ETH ETF is if you can do ETH spot ETF, right, we'll be able to pass yields back to those holders, which will be really cool. And people will get to get a sense of like what holding ETH is. And like, I think that'll ignite a lot of activity. Now, as we've gotten closer and closer, I think the vibes have been deteriorating around that, and like the sentiment has been shifting sideways. And I think now it looks like the sentiment is that we are not going to pass the ETH ETF, and we're not going to have it this time around. And I think the deadline is soonish, right? I can't remember when it is. Do you know when it is, Will?
I don't. It's in the next couple weeks. Yeah, one interesting comment I saw. I don't remember which issuer it was from, but it was one of the issuers who also has a Bitcoin ETF right now, and they were saying that their largest indication that it's unlikely to get passed is that the SEC's been very non-communicative with them over it, whereas with the Bitcoin ETFs, they were, I guess, talking all the time and making changes and arguments, etc. And that's just not been the case on the ETH side.
Yeah.
Um, Chris and I were talking about this before. Like, I personally think the ETH ETF is more of an inevitability at this point. I don't really think. Okay, one, I don't think it's going to get passed in a couple weeks for a number of reasons. One, what I was just talking about. Two, what you kind of alluded to, which is that the SEC likes to push things until the last possible date. And from my understanding, we're at minimum a couple months out from that. So,
Yep.
uh, there's not a high degree of likelihood that we'd see an approval now, regardless of any of the other controversy. We've also had the SEC going after a bunch of different entities in the last couple of weeks. I know Coinbase had some news recently. Today we had the Uniswap thing, which we'll talk about later.
Yep.
But it seems like with this kind of surge in mainstream attention on crypto, that the SEC has taken this opportunity to go after a couple high profile things. And so I don't think it would make sense for them to like do us a solid while they're going after all of us.
Totally.
But yeah, I think you're absolutely right on the yield side. Actually, my understanding as of a couple months ago was that staking was already kind of baked into those filings, which turned out
Mm.
not to be the case. A couple weeks ago, um, I don't know who the first one was, but I think two or three of them have now done it. Have added
Meaning like the
staking
filing
to their
was.
filing.
I see. So you're not only buying spot, you're staking it, passing yields back
You're
over.
able to
It's the whole this
stake
whole
it
thing.
if these are
Oh, very
approved.
cool.
Yeah. So that's like final if this goes through. But with that said, the fact that was added on a couple weeks ago was obviously not bullish for it getting approved now,
Right.
because that's got to be reviewed and torn apart by the SEC. But with all that said, I don't think it's that impactful. Like we rode through this same train with Bitcoin for the last like however many years. It's like everybody hypes themselves up for a date when it might happen. It never happens, and you're just stuck in a circle, like jerking each other off until the final deadline happens. Like it's gonna be the same thing.
Yes.
Um,
And to think that the
I don't think
ETH
it's like a tradable thing, to be honest.
I agree. And to think the ETH ETF would come so soon after the Bitcoin, like it was such a
Yeah,
grind to get that done. To assume this would come this quickly, honestly,
yeah,
if it happens anytime this year, I think that's actually incredibly fast already relative to the
yeah.
speed. And like looking at Colin here, I mean, it says, look, like looking at BlackRock's ETF here, the final deadline is August 7th,
Mm.
right? And so the opinion of him says of Colin is basically like, we are going to likely have it fail all the way up to there and then improve in August and not a minute till then, which actually tracks like sort of like the general sentiment on CT at least, which is,
Yep.
we are going to fail this one or they're going to reject this one, and then we pull forward, and sometime in the late summer, fall, closer to the end of the year, we're going to get this thing over the line, which I think is still incredibly bullish and fast. And so if we have a dump on here, I mean, that would be incredible. I think, if we dump here, you should buy as much
I'm
as
buying
humanly
for
possible.
sure. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I'm almost, hoping we go in that direction so we can get more time, but that's kind of where we are with the ETH ETF. But
Yeah, it feels like a more or less a non-event to me that people are going to clamor about, and then it's going to become nothing.
yeah, I think so, because look, like, you remember the BT the BTC ETF leading up to that, the talk on Twitter, it was like so intensely focused on that. I feel like for the ETH ETF, I barely hear anything about it. Like, it's just not like it's not a central focus of
Yep.
crypto Twitter right now. There's so many other things going on that are exciting that I think everyone's focused on those things, which is like, cool. If we get it, great. If not, who gives a shit? We're still going to keep ripping things and
Yep.
just farming whatever chain. And like, there's so much exciting stuff happening right now that there's no need to even like, it's just a side event at best. So
And
anyway,
for what
like,
it's worth, I also think the Bitcoin ETF was more important for Bitcoin than an ETH one would be for ETH, because ETH, you have the whole or sorry, not supercomputer, world computer thesis, DeFi happening on chain, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening versus Bitcoin. It's pretty much you're buying and selling it. Maybe you send it to somebody once or twice, but for the most part, you're just buying and selling it. So having
yep,
the ability to buy and sell put to the masses is like a huge impact, and it would be for ETH as well. But I think there are other theses that would drive like hugely bullish price action that aren't reliant just on where you can buy it.
totally. And maybe speaking of like, like you said, I think I'm good with you. I think it'll be a non-event. Who cares? We keep a track of it because I think it's important, but it's not a key date that we should hang our opinion off of.
Yeah, yeah,
So there's that.
yeah. Not to say
But
it's not important. I just think it's more impactful for Bitcoin in the long
totally,
run.
totally. And and like we said, it's because I think there's so much other shit going on that's exciting. So who cares, right? ETH is already vibrant right now and things are moving. And speaking of like that, and like zooming on that, like, it's been nuts on ETH like recently, and nuts on Sol. And it actually has been. There's a couple things to talk about. Maybe the first is just the congestion. Like I think it's been. I mean, you tell me, Will, and you're going to have a strong review of this, but like, I feel like there's been a broad shift mentally away from Sol recently. Not entirely away, but like, it has definitely. I feel like I woke up one day and all the money was like on base now, and the attention was off of Sol. And not only that, the commentary about Sol that I kept seeing was all that Sol wasn't working, and it was basically completely fucked, and it was down, and it was hard to use, transactions failing, and then we got a lot of Twitter drama from, of course, the smalls of people. But let's maybe give us what's going on
Yeah,
here,
I
Will. What
mean,
are you thinking?
like, you can joke about top signals all you want, but if hundreds of millions of dollars in meme coin pre-sales wasn't the most obvious top signal ever, like, I don't know what is. And it seems like that was the domino that started tipping things over. Like the congestion things are true. I've been trying to use it myself. The wormhole airdrop went out. What was that, last week? And I had a bunch of failed transactions just trying to claim it. I had a bunch of failed transactions trying to sell it. But one thing I have noticed, again, like, if you've seen the podcast before, I'm not a Solana guy by any means, but I will like cut them some slack here. One, network congestion is like a real problem. We deal with it on ETH too. That's a real thing. Two, um, from my experience using Solana in the last week or so, it seems like one of the biggest issues is that Phantom, which I think is the largest wallet provider by users, like active users, not by Soulflare is the biggest by like staking or whatever. But on Phantom, at least, you can't actually set your like transaction gas settings, which you is very common on ETH. When things are congested, you set your settings higher so that you pay a higher fee, but the validators are more inclined to push your transaction through because you're paying more. On Phantom, you can't actually do that, which leads to Phantom sending transactions with super low settings, and your transactions fail. If you use something like Soulflare or one of the other wallets that you can actually set your priority fees. If you just bump it up a little bit, your transaction's probably going to go through. Now, with all that said, like it's sucked to use Solana over the last week or two. The price action reflects it. On-chain volumes reflect it. I was looking at like bridging flows the other day, and I think I mentioned it maybe last week or 2 weeks ago, but you could start to see the flows coming from Solana to Base, and now this week it's even more the case. Money is moving very quickly out of Solana right now. It's funny, like it was kind of in stages, right? We had the pre-sale meta, which showed everybody it was super congested and hard to use. And then the next week we had what seemed to me like there were jokes about it. I don't know for sure, but it seemed to me like Base maybe paid a bunch of influencers to talk all like about it all at once because it was odd the way it happened. It was like that.
Really.
So that got some people to come over, and then those same influencers just started shitting all over Solana congestion, and that was kind of the last straw that broke the proverbial camel's back. But yeah, I
Yep.
mean everybody's moving over to Base right now.
Yep.
We were looking at a tweet earlier. They hit 5 billion in DVL today, which this is a layer 2 network on ETH. Everybody complains about, oh, my liquidity is getting fragmented. Like 5 billion is more than Solana, I believe, and it's a layer 2 network.
I
So
think a lot more.
um, like this is cool to see. I might be totally wrong on that. Yeah, no, I'm
No,
right.
you are right. You are right.
Um, yeah, so it's cool to me as an ETH guy who's been pushing the L2 thing for so long that one, the monolithic blockchain design in the case of Solana, where you just have everything into one big chain and that's supposed to infinitely scale. One, it's showing that's not really working and you might actually need layer twos. But two, it seems like the ETH layer two thesis is actually playing out. Like people are using these things.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, a lot of it's mercenary capital for sure. The fact that base TVL is up so much recently is like definitely because meme coins and stuff have been popping off. But on-chain transactions is really all that matters. And Coinbase has their, I think they call it their smart wallet or whatever. It's like their new
Right.
on-chain mobile wallet that's launching soon. That like it's apparently incredibly easy to get onto Base, and they highlight all the different coins that are popping off on Base. Like they're really pushing it. So I wouldn't be surprised to see liquidity stick around. I had a friend asking me this morning what I thought the next liquidity rotation chain would be. And I said it's staying on Base. So we'll see if that's true.
Yeah. I don't know where it would go, honestly, outside of
I
that.
mean,
So
yeah, I don't know what the other options are. We already went through the kind of side alt ones. And yeah, I mean,
yeah. I
Solana's
mean,
not
Phantom
working right
came and
now.
went. Avax came and went in like 2 days for both of them.
Mm,
Even Near had a moment, which was kind of funny.
yeah,
And then outside of that, Solana, it definitely has been here. It's done well, but it's come and go. And I think Base is gonna have some time because now everyone's waiting for that airdrop. You've got a bunch of attention here, which means shitters are going to come in, and the same cycle that happened on Solana is going to happen on Base, but maybe even longer.
yeah.
And so because now you got a
Well,
bigger
it's
pool to
base
fish
and
from.
blast. I think blast two is important to note. Like it's gonna.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna stay between the two. You have the blast token launching in a month from now.
Yep.
I think base will probably maintain most of this liquidity through the month, and then blast will launch. And I'm kind of expecting a big EVM craze, to be honest, for a while. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
ton of liquidity.
Totally. No, I agree with you. And I think, like you said, it is just funny to watch how this has happened because the Soul people have been shitting on EVM and like ETH for a long time. And ETH has just been like narratively, it's been down bad for a while, you know. And to watch all this begin to happen now, where it's actually rotating very quickly to the EVM world, right? Because of Blast and because of Base. It's funny to see. And look, I'm certainly not a maxi one way or the other. And like, I hope everyone wins. So I don't really care, but it is funny to just watch. It is the same thing. When you're the main character, when you're loud, it tends to just fucking go back and screw you. And so like the Soul folks have been very loud and been shitting all over this, and it's gone the other way for them. So tough, tough. But overall, money to be made. So I'd say head over to Base, head over to Blast, and start to play with stuff. I think there's a lot of stuff happening that's pretty interesting. So yeah, definitely. Um, and let's see. I mean,
Yeah.
really,
Well, I guess just while we're on the base subject, we can highlight
Yep,
Friendtech as well because that's had a bit of a bit of a revival. Jesus.
definitely.
Yeah, when Base first launched, Friendtech was really the only app on Base
Yep.
for months, and then it died because honestly, like that app sucks to use. There's so many bugs. It's not interesting. People were only doing it to speculate on the token, and lo and behold, when the token starts approaching, people start to use it again.
Yep.
Um, yeah, Friendtech's made some interesting announcements. The founder, who goes by OX Racer, put out a tweet recently saying that 100% of their token supply is going to be going to the community, which I certainly have some questions about. I think a lot of people do. One, I'd be surprised if their VCs allowed them to just give away all of the tokens without giving them any.
Yep.
Uh, Two, I'd be surprised if they don't keep any tokens for
Like
themselves.
for the treasury, or just even to
And
manage the business,
three, if they are doing that, I guarantee there's going to be some ridiculous Ponzi vesting schedule, something baked into it to keep people using the app. But that's crazy. It's, I guess, indicates why, if you guys have been paying attention to OTC markets, which there's no reason you should be, but Friendtech points over the last 2 months or so have been selling at like $5 a piece. And just for reference, I didn't think they were even going to go for like 20 cents. So this explains that kind of price action. Clearly somebody knew, but it's definitely interesting to see. I like the SocialFi industry or movement or whatever you want to call it. I think that's interesting.
yeah, I agree.
But
I
I don't
agree.
know if excuse me. I don't know if Friendtech is the implementation that I would choose. You've also got all the influencers shilling it again, of course. I'm sure they paid a bunch of them. It's the normal cycle.
100%. It's the classic thing, right? Like, at the end of the day, one day we woke up and everyone was shilling base, and the next day woke up and everyone was shilling front tech. And so could it be a coincidence? Could be, you know, but likely not. And so we'll see where it goes. But it is, I think, like you said, the social stuff is pretty fun. It's pretty interesting. That was the what's the one on base that's trading cards? That CT people are trading cards. I forget the name of it. Fandom, I think.
Fantasy,
Yeah,
fantasy,
yeah. Fantasy. Got
fantasy
it. Yeah.
dot top or
There,
whatever.
there you go. That's exactly right. Yeah. So you've got this, you've got Friendtech, you've got Farcaster, right? Or
Yeah, there's
Warpcast, I guess.
District One is another one that's been popping off on Blast. There are a
Yep.
lot right now.
There's a
Yeah,
bunch of SocialFi stuff. So it's pretty interesting. Like you said, it does feel like just another way to trade tokens. But again, like,
yeah, it's something new, kind of.
no, I think it is new. I think it's fun. It's interesting, and it's another way to like. I guess again, it's a more accessible way for a lot of people to get into this stuff.
Hmm.
So I'm for it. We'll see where it goes. We'll see. Like it just shows that you're never really down for the count because everyone counted Frentech out, including
Yep,
myself. I was like, this thing
yep.
is over. They didn't have a ton of TVL. The trading experience is absolutely awful. And that was it. But here we go, token out. And if you just, the turns out the way to get it back is launch a token and give it all to the community, and all of a sudden everyone cares again. But
Yep.
we'll see where that goes. But speaking of Frentech, I don't know if you've seen Pump.fun.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. Which is basically taking the Frentech, bonding, or not Frentech, but like Frentech symbol, like bonding curve and all that, right? And applying it to shitcoins, which I thought was super interesting. Um,
Yeah,
and
I feel like it's a cool core idea. In practice, it just recreates just like the name implies. It's just a bunch of pump and dumps. Because the problem is
yeah,
everybody has like 5% of the supply by the time the bonding curve ends, and then
yes,
it's just a dump fest.
yep,
But
agreed with
it's
that.
fun to watch. It's
Yeah,
certainly
it
fun to
is.
watch.
It is. It is. It is. It's fun to play.
So,
Some of these are just really hilarious. Lols.
I mean, it's almost like
Um,
TikTok for like shit coins. It's
yep,
just like popping up, like playing on your like Pavlov dog's response to the shit coins. I
totally.
like it.
I do like the integration into Radium. So, like, hey, if you get this thing pumped enough, we'll just like deposit Radium. It'll become a real token because now you have real liquidity, right? Just bootstrapping the initial liquidity. Um, which is pretty cool. I mean, I like the idea. Again, will it work? Who knows? But I did think it was a cool idea, and I've thought about this for a while. It's like, starting shitcoins is not hard. It's attention plus liquidity, and if you just like abstract for the liquidity piece, like it becomes
Mm.
very easy. So very cool. Maybe on to new stuff then.
Mm.
Um,
Monad.
Monad.
Big
So
news
a
from
bunch of new
Monad.
stuff this week. Yeah, exactly. Big news from Monad this week. They announced a $225 million round from, whoops, what the hell happened here? They announced a $225 million round where they are, here we go. Yeah, $225 million from Paradigm and a bunch of other folks. Let's see here. We've got Electric, Coinbase Ventures, eCurl. That's great. Caos Island, Green Oaks, and a bunch of angels, including Mert, Brian, who's the founder of Layer Zero, Rune, the founder of MakerDAO, Luca, the CEO of Pudgy, Ansem, Saka, Inverse, and of course Saquon Barkley.
Revered venture capitalist Saquon Barkley.
Did he do Mango? Was that? I remember that
Did he?
correctly? Did he
I
get
don't
that?
know.
Did he shill Mango on Rug? Oh, that was Antonio Brown. Sorry.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah, that was AP.
but it's a big round. It's a big round, and their whole story is parallelized EVM, right? Which has been the story of Say for a while to come into play, and the whole idea is that the EVM is slow, and so if you parallelize it, it's fast. Like, and that's kind of thing. They bet on what 10,000 TPS. Was that the story for them?
I don't know, something like that.
Um, and they just got everybody in the world into the round. And that's here we go. So just an insane amount of people who are in this round, which is good for go-to-market distribution, crowding other people, right, and all that. But you really have lots and lots of people here,
I mean, they're
which is
not
fun
even
to see.
showing their like KOL
Yep.
names. Like, I mean, I know for a fact because I know a bunch of them how big that round was. There are a lot of names in on this.
Yep. Yeah, because I remember a couple months ago they were doing the KOL round, and KOL stands for Key Opinion Leader, which is basically like an influencer in crypto. They were doing that round at 600, right? And they got a bunch of people in. And then they did the venture round, and I think Paradigm took the whole thing. And I forget it how much, but I think it was 3 billion. Did they say?
I don't know. I don't think they
Yeah,
said.
got it. But yeah, I think it was 3 billion, which is just nuts to see. But they got everybody in, which is interesting. And again, it's just hilarious the Saquon Brown stuff, which is this tweet from CMS. I thought was, we thought was hilarious. So, um, but just really hilarious to see. But yeah, I mean, what do you think of Monad? It's been one of the hyped projects all year, and they've been a little quiet. Especially when parallelized EVM came out, Say really leaned into parallelized EVM and started ripping that narrative, and it really went in their direction for a while. And I didn't think we'd get an announcement, to be honest, from Monad. And I thought the general consensus was it'd be a next cycle thing, just because they hadn't talked a whole lot about it. But here we are. So yeah, what do you think? I mean, I think obviously, clearly, there's a lot of excitement for it, which means it's going to be a massive token. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, what do you think?
yeah. I mean, I at least what I've heard is, yeah, what I've heard is they're not doing this until next year. So
Right. Okay. So
on
same
one
thing.
hand, my perspective is like, who gives a shit right now?
Right.
Unless you're an investor.
Right.
I I always get nervous when I see every influencer I've ever heard of shilling the same thing. Like that's worrying to me because that means you're focusing again. Like these guys are still building their chain, and to be marketing this much already is just it feels weird to me. But in theory, yeah, it sounds great. I read through the white paper a while ago. Paralyzed EVM is cool. Like, yeah, it looks fine. I really don't understand where all this hype is coming from, if I'm being honest. I feel like maybe I'm missing something, but ever since a couple months ago when my friends were doing the KOL round stuff, they all like asked me my take on it, and I was like, all right, yeah, like it's like cool new L1, but I don't really see the massive billions of dollar valuation that everybody else seems to be seeing. I mean, to do a round at they just raised 225. They probably raised at like 3.5 to 4 billion valuation. Like
Yep. I think it
that
was
means
three.
these investors think they're going to go multiples of that and for a sustained duration, which I don't know, feels odd to me, but we'll see.
Yep.
They're the professionals.
Yeah. Exactly. So we'll see where this thing goes. I mean, again, good for them. New token, that'll be
Yeah,
fun.
great for them. Congrats to the Monad team for sure. But
Yep,
we'll see. I'm sure the token's going to be huge. There's too much in on it.
exactly.
Um,
And maybe shifting gears to other new stuff. Two big announcements this week. EigenDA also announced their mainnet. And EigenDA, for the listeners, like EigenDA is EigenLayer's AVS, right? And it's one of the services built on top of EigenLayer. So they built their own called EigenDA, and the DA stands for data availability, which means being able to sample the data, right? So today that is kind of a market largely occupied by Celestia, which is you can use a particular EVM chain, use Celestia as your DA provider, and it really reduces the transaction costs and reduces the cost of using the stuff. And Celestia has really gotten a lot of love from that, and then now here with EigenLayer, finally announcing EigenDA as well. And it was very very hyped, and everyone was very excited about it, and they've got a whole thing talking about this here. But I think the notable thing, like you mentioned, Will, was no token.
no
Um,
token.
no token. And so I think people were, you know, I think the news came and went because of that. Because we're like,
Yeah.
cool, great, EigenDA, got it, no token, moving on. We'll wait till Eigen comes out. Um, but yeah, I mean, any take on this, Will? What do you think?
Um, yeah. I mean, they've said they're not doing a token, so I guess we shouldn't be super surprised that they didn't mention it here. I think that's all bullshit, and they're definitely doing a token. I'm passively farming Eigen. Um, and look, like again, to go back to the OTC market thing that I mentioned earlier, the Eigen points are still selling for like quite a nice price. So clearly this hasn't dissuaded people that much. Maybe people are pissed on Twitter. I'm definitely a little annoyed because I was hoping that this would when I saw the notification they had tweeted, I was hoping this was like the big token announcement. I don't have any indication of when it's going to be. I think they'd be stupid if they are going to do it, which again I think they are. They'd be stupid not to capitalize on this massive Eigen specifically, but EVM in general hype right now. It'd be odd to me if they didn't look to drop a token because like they're making good money, I'm sure, off of capturing some of the restaking yield, but dropping a token, it's going to be I don't know how much in TVL they have, something like over 20 billion. Like their token's going to be tens of billions of dollars in FTV. And saying no to that is difficult, I think. So they're going to do it. I just don't know when.
Agreed. I mean, they have to. I mean, there's just no
They have
question they're
to.
going to. Um, but yeah, a lot of new
Somebody
stuff
else,
this
for what
week.
it's worth, I think the Eigen idea is really cool, but it's not something that they have a significant moat over should they choose not to do a token, I think.
Right. Yeah, agreed. Because
So
look,
they
the
have
thing
to.
they've done well is I think they've got the brand, and then
Yep.
because of that, they sucked in all the ETH in the world to come into this. It's become a critical part of this. But just like we saw with like restaking, in general, like look, a lot of this is just like Lido and those other services, right? So that can easily divert all those things to new places or do something else with it, right? So, like you
Well, yeah, I
said,
mean, the only reason people are using Eigen over Lido, really, it's not to provide ETH security to other chains they don't give a shit about. It's so
yep,
that they can farm for the airdrop.
totally, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but a bunch of interesting stuff coming on. Unfortunately, no tokens yet, but tokens in the future. So we will find out. A lot of announcements, but that's all we got so far. A broken chain, people going to base, and then a lot of announcements of things that could happen later. That's kind of like the summary for right now. Speaking of that, like maybe, broken stuff, let's go back to something in the news right now. I think a trial started today for our friend Avi Eisenberg, the Mango guy, which is hilarious to see. And so I honestly I can only like kind of remember what happened here. Will, uh, do you remember the context or the story here? I
Yeah.
remember it was
So,
around Mango manipulating it to cause a liquidation, and it was
yeah, I vaguely remember this. I think he was using Aave to do it, if I remember correctly. But he
right.
was basically, he found what was a pretty illiquid bull on Mango. I don't remember the pair. It may have been a curve pair, maybe. But yeah, the basic story is that he found a pretty illiquid pair and was uh, shorting it, borrowing more to short, borrowing more, shorting, and just trying to liquidate the crap out of everybody, and actually succeeded in doing it and like totally exploited the protocol for I don't remember the exact size, but it was something like 100 million, I think. And I think, look, like you could argue that because he didn't actually exploit some piece of code in the software, it's not like he was sitting on his computer like hacking their servers or something. Maybe you could argue that it wasn't illegal. The issue is that it was like it's pretty blatant market manipulation at minimum. And he was
Yes.
also publicly talking about it. He told everybody all his strategies as he was doing it. So it's like,
Oh.
maybe you could have argued in court, but like at this point, no, you're screwed. And this wasn't the only protocol he exploited, by the way. I don't remember what the other ones were, but there was one other high profile one, maybe a year or two before, that it later came out he was behind as well. And I
I don't
think if I
remember that.
remember correctly, he was the one who coined the term highly profitable trading strategy. That's what
Exactly.
he
This is
argued
the
this was.
thing.
It wasn't an exploit or market manipulation, just highly profitable trading strategies.
Which is such a hilarious pasta now. Like it's such a good one. So
So
yeah.
good.
And look at this guy. I mean, he
Oh
just
yeah, here it
looks
is. I didn't even see that you had the tweet up.
it's
That's
just he
so
just
funny.
looks hilarious for one. And then to go out and talk to Laura Shin and just be like, yeah, that was just a highly profitable trading strategy. It was just so hilarious. And just like obviously puts a target on his back, you know?
Yeah.
And then of course the next thing he tweets is this, right? Which is, what are you going to do? Arrest me? And then very quickly after, gets arrested.
Gets arrested.
Oh, God. So just absolutely fucking retarded.
I
And then
mean,
now
if I
he's gone to
remember
court.
correctly, October 18th, 2022, he was arrested like maybe 2 weeks later or something. It was very quickly after.
Uh,
Because FTX was like
yeah,
November.
there
Okay,
we
it was in
go.
December. That was later than I thought. But yeah, no, it was like, oh, what an idiot!
Just
What an
really
idiot!
hilarious. It just goes to show you, like, just being the main character always is bad. You
It's always
basically
bad.
always get fucked after. But just really hilarious, this guy. But we'll see where it lands. I mean, just look at this fucking guy, though. I mean, he looks. It's so
He
easy to
deserves
hate
to
this
be in
guy.
jail. He
Exactly.
deserves to be in jail.
Oh god. So I think people will follow this. We'll see where this goes, but we'll see where this lands. I think it's just funny to talk about. I don't think anyone actually gives a shit. I think we've all moved on from it. Who cares? Although there's some chatter on Twitter about how this is like a moment for crypto, but I don't know. I don't really
I
care
don't
about it,
think
to be honest
so.
with you. Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, I think it's like a pretty, yeah, the conversation is around like the whole code is law debate that, code is not or liable for, broken laws and that kind of thing. Like,
Yep.
again, this wasn't like he coded a big thing and hacked the protocol. Like he exploited it via market manipulation, which is a centuries old like crime. This isn't something crypto specific. I don't think it has anything to do with the code is law debate at all.
I don't think so either. So we'll see. But bro will probably rot in prison for a little bit. Unfortunate, but here we are.
Here we
Um,
are.
and let's see. Maybe last thing then. Just like kind of the idiot of the week stuff, or just like a funny thing. Last week that we had NFT NYC, what, a week and a half ago, and there was a
Yeah,
there was a
yeah,
whiff
last
party.
week.
And it was just absolutely like the videos were hilarious. Just a bunch of fucking dudes there with it doing it, just dancing, and this guy really caught a lot of fucking love on the internet. It just looks hilarious.
Just
Oh man.
the nipple scratching dance.
Oh man, so really good. So of course, like that created a bunch of stuff after this, and it became a bit of a thing. I think Whiff dumped after this. No, I can't even
Yeah,
remember.
it did. It was
Um,
dumping as they were performing.
Oh god, I mean, Whiff is like, I honestly feel like it's been a little bit cringe recently, just because the amount of people who are like in it, and like I think the
Well, it's
Vegas
like the
thing, I think
same
it's a
thing
little
as
stupid.
Milady's, I think. It's like it started with this really cool, unique culture, and then it gets huge and popular, and all these random fuckers buy it, and then it loses its charm. I think it's a similar thing.
I agree. You think it's like it's definitely been the trade of the cycle for sure. Um, you think we're going back up, or we're cooked here?
Um,
Let's see, where is Whiff here? Because we've gone down a little
like,
bit.
look, it's my usual rule with meme coins is I won't buy it if it's over a $5 million market cap, and we are significantly over that now. I don't even want to give advice at this point because like I just don't see what you're gonna buy it now to maybe make like 40%. Who gives a shit? Like this is crypto. Go back to TradFi if you want like sub 3 digit percent gains on your trades. That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
Um,
But look, I mean, yeah, it's been the trade of the year. Like, hats off to, or hats on to Whiff.
what's funny about Whiff to me is, I mean, you hear about all these people getting crazy rich and like the whole story and blah blah blah. It's not even trading in sexes yet, is it?
It's on, yeah, it's on
I think you can do
Sexes.
Binance. You do Binance, like Binance futures, but no spot. I remember this
Oh,
correctly.
I thought it was spot listed. I
I
don't
can't
know, to
remember
be
honestly.
honest.
Okay, because if it's spot listed, that makes sense. Because like if you look at Whiff, I mean, these pools aren't even big. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like look, it's
Yeah,
22 million in
22.
liquidity, right? So you're looking at what you can take out 10 mil max, which again, 10 mil is a lot of money,
Fucking
but like
Solana, dude. All these coins on Solana are the same shit.
that's what I'm
It's like a
saying.
2% liquidity to market cap ratio is the
That's what I'm
norm.
saying. So
That's why they're all
everyone like
pumping so much.
right because nothing moves the price, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that's like funny about this. Like, sure, people have made a lot of money in theory. I still don't know if people have actually made a lot of money, you know, and that's what I don't really understand about this thing. And I wonder if it's like one of those things that people don't really understand that, like, look, the liquidity is not that high, you know, like relatively speaking. And so I don't know. Maybe we just like maybe we'll see where's Whip trading these markets. Like it's not a lot of volume either. You know, I guess 200. Oh, it's 240 mil.
Yeah,
Got
yeah,
it.
that's quite a bit.
All right. Okay. So it's moving. Got it. Fair enough. Fair enough. But still, I guess we'll see what happens here. But yeah, we'll see. But well, I guess we'll cap it off now with Shill of the Week, man. What are you trading? What are you buying? What should we aim?
Yeah, I'm shilling. I can't remember if I did this one before, but regardless, I'm gonna do it again. I'm shilling Pepe coin, which is not the big. I just gave this whole spiel about how I don't buy meme coins over 5 million, but I'm about to break my rule 2 minutes later. It's not the big Pepe that everybody's seen on Coinbase. It's actually like the OG Pepe. Not that I really give a shit, but it was deployed in like 2016 originally or something. Now, meme coins not usually my strong suit. What is my strong suit is like utility plays, and the interesting thing with Pepe Coin is they have there's this other token in the ecosystem called Based AI, which is kind of the native token of their upcoming AI-driven blockchain, layer one blockchain that's supposed to release in I think about a month from now. Um, yeah, there's some interesting dynamics here. I think Based AI is sitting like 3x lower than Pepe Coin in terms of
Yeah.
valuation. The reasoning for that is a couple of things. One, Based AI inflation has been quite high. That market cap stuff may not actually be even accurate. But you could stake Pepe Coin to earn Based AI every day, so emissions hit pretty hard. But I think the larger side of that is the speculation behind Pepe Coin becoming a hugely deflationary asset soon in the next 2 or 3 weeks or so. Um, and the reason for that is for the based AI network to function. Basically, the idea behind it is decentralized cloud computing for LLM models, at least at first, specifically. So, if you're a company or an individual that needs to run an LLM, or you have some proprietary data set that you don't want to use on one of the existing LLMs, for example, you can run it via the based AI network, keep your data privacy, et cetera, et cetera. And essentially, in order to run those LLMs, the network uses what they call brains, which just function as like validators. But basically, you can burn or stake Pepe coin, quite a bit of it, in order to run one of these brains yourself, which again is starting in about 2 weeks from now. I'm seeing, who knows where things end up. I'm seeing projections that would put the Pepe coin burn rate like anywhere from 40% up to 80% of supply gone. So, that would turn, if we got up to 80%, obviously, that would turn a current about $1 billion FTV to like 200 million. So that speculation, I think, has been driving the price differential quite a bit. But yeah, my show of the week is Pepe coin. I think this thing is going to I'm shilling Pepe coin, not based AI for the record, but I think Pepe coin could like at least 10x from here. I'm pretty confident in this. I have a big bag as a disclosure. I have a lot. You're on mute, by the way.
Nice. Good, good, good. Let's see. I mean, I don't really have a good one this week. I would say maybe just going into it, I've been buying this. Um,
I don't even know this one.
Mautai, it's gotten a little bit of the crypto Twitter love.
It's quite a
Yeah,
chart.
not bad. Took a little bit of dump today, but yeah, Mautai it's just a shitcoin. There's really nothing to talk about here. But it's a shitcoin. Mautai is it's a Chinese liquor. Um,
Hmm.
that is like a clear. It's a clear thing. I kind of actually don't know what the fuck it is. I've drank it many times, and it's just very harsh. It's quite famous in Asia. This is the Mautai thing, and it's yeah. Anyway, so it's just a Chinese drink. There's really nothing else to it. I personally just like drink it, and so I figured I'd buy it, and it's really just ripped. I think it's gotten a couple shills from. Let's see, like I think I've seen the shill here and there. Yeah, here we go.
Dude, Kang is just on
Uh,
one recently.
he really is, dude. He's just gone absolutely nuclear on so many different things. But anyway, it's just hilarious. So I think it's just been getting a lot of the shills, and it's been going well. So
Kang is in Pepe Coin, by the way. I think he's
is
one of
he
our largest holders. I heard he
nice?
actually, never mind, I won't say. I don't think it's public.
Oh, good. So anyway, Mao Tai, like we've been holding it for a bit. It's gone well. I think it keeps going. So we'll see where this thing lands. But yeah, that's what we got. But anyway,
That's
thanks
what we got.
for stopping by this week. It's been a whole lot, and we'll catch you on next week.
Later.